The cheetah writhed in agony, its spotted coat completely blackened by swarming bees. Desperate wails piercing the savanna air as venom flooded its system. The horrifying scene unfolded at Kenya's Masai Mara Wildlife Reserve on a sweltering Tuesday afternoon. What had begun as a routine hunt for the 5-year-old male cheetah, one of only 7,000 remaining in the wild, turned catastrophic when the predator unwittingly disturbed a massive African killer bee colony hidden in an abandoned aardvark burrow. The agitated swarm had erupted in an instant, engulfing the cheetah in a living black cloud of stinging fury. "It's hopeless," shouted Philip Kassane, the reserve's head ranger, pushing back anxious staff members. Water cannons would just enrage them more, and smoke might suffocate the cheetah. The team had already tried approaching with protective gear, only to retreat when the hyper-aggressive bees redirected their attack. Each passing minute diminished the endangered cat's chances of survival as thousands of venomous stingers penetrated its sensitive nose, eyes, and exposed skin. As the conservation team debated euthanasia options to end the animal's suffering, an unexpected voice cut through the chaos. "I've seen this before. There's still time." The group turned to find David Mitchell observing the scene with calculating intensity. At 67, the retired Marine Corps veteran hardly resembled the imposing figure he'd once been during his 26-year military career. Yet something in his measured tone commanded immediate attention as he studied the writhing cheetah through narrowed eyes. Mitchell had been volunteering at the reserve for 3 seasons, typically assisting with anti-poaching patrols and equipment maintenance. But nothing in his volunteer file indicated expertise with this kind of wildlife emergency. "Give me 15 minutes, Mitchell said quietly, already moving toward the supply shed. "And everyone else stays back." Mitchell approached the perimeter of the swarm, maintaining precisely 30 feet of separation, close enough to assess but beyond the bee's defensive attack radius. Through decades of military training, he developed the ability to compartmentalize emotion, viewing the crisis through the objective lens of tactical assessment. The cheetah's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Its breathing had become labored, limbs twitching sporadically from the neurotoxic venom. Mitchell estimated at least 200,000 bees had encased the animal, with thousands more arriving by the minute. The familiar scent markers of the attack pheromone were distinct even from this distance, a banana-like odor that would continue attracting reinforcements from miles around. "The allergic reaction is advancing to anaphylaxis," Mitchell muttered to himself, noticing the visible swelling around the animal's throat. The reserve's veterinarian had already prepared a euthanasia kit, but Mitchell knew from extensive field experience that large cats could endure significantly more trauma than humans if intervention came quickly enough. The situation worsened as the cheetah's desperate thrashing disturbed another section of the colony. In seconds, the black cloud doubled in density, completely obscuring the cat except for occasional glimpses of spotted fur. The distressed animal's vocalizations changed from aggressive growls to weakening whimpers, a sign that its fighting spirit was fading. As Mitchell conducted his assessment, memories from combat deployments surfaced with crystal clarity. This wasn't his first encounter with African killer bees. During specialized training in Kenya's northern territories, his unit had developed protocols for managing biological hazards in combat zones, including aggressive insect swarms. The military necessity of retrieving sensitive equipment from compromised environments had led to techniques that might now save this animal's life. Mitchell felt the familiar calm of operational focus settling over him, the same mental state that had carried him through 3 tours of Iraq and specialized biological defense training. He'd witnessed fellow Marines panic when confronted with swarming insects during jungle training exercises, but had developed methods of movement and breath control that minimized the aggression triggers of hymenopteran species. The reserve staff watched anxiously as Mitchell methodically surveyed the available resources. His eyes scanned the maintenance shed, mentally cataloging potential components: a gasoline-powered leaf blower, several garden sprayers, fire extinguishers, vehicle repair tools, and an assortment of cleaning supplies. "I need unflavored dish soap, cotton sheets, baking soda, and a vehicle battery," Mitchell announced, his voice steady. "And a medical kit with epinephrine, if you have it." The bewildered staff scrambled to gather the requested items, while Mitchell maintained his focused observation. He noticed subtle patterns in the swarm's movement, the directional shifts, density variations, and response to environmental stimuli. The military had taught him that even seemingly chaotic biological systems follow predictable patterns if you knew how to read them. Watching the cheetah's weakening struggles, Mitchell felt a responsibility that transcended ordinary wildlife conservation. In his military career, he'd learned that specialized knowledge carried moral obligation. The techniques that had once protected his unit could now preserve one of nature's most endangered predators. If he moved quickly and precisely, "I'm going to need someone to prepare 2 gallons of soapy water solution," he instructed. 1 cup of soap per gallon. The rest of you, stay back at least 50 yards. As Mitchell assembled his improvised rescue equipment, his mind flashed back to 1991 in the scorching Saudi Arabian desert. His Marine unit had encountered a biological training scenario involving defensive insect swarms, part of the military's comprehensive CBRN chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear defense program. Their instructor, a weathered entomologist with Special Forces background, had demonstrated techniques for managing aggressive Hymenoptera that had saved numerous lives during deployments. Bees attack 3 things, Mitchell recalled the instructor explaining: movement, breath, and dark colors. Control these variables, and you control the swarm. Working with practice efficiency, Mitchell modified the leaf blower, using techniques adapted from military biological containment procedures. He removed the collection bag and attached a modified garden sprayer reservoir filled with the soapy solution, a non-toxic compound that would disrupt the bees' respiratory spiracles without harming the cheetah's sensitive systems. The soap breaks surface tension, Mitchell explained to Kassane, who watched with skeptical fascination. It clogs their breathing apparatus without poisoning the animal. Standard technique for biological extraction in sensitive environments. Next, Mitchell repurposed cotton sheets into a lightweight protective covering, soaking them in a baking soda solution, a military field technique for neutralizing attack pheromones. He fashioned a protective hood with mesh visibility, securing it with duct tape in a configuration reminiscent of modified MOPP gear, mission-oriented protective posture, used for biological hazard management. The most critical component came from specialized training in animal behavior management, a requirement for Marines who worked with military working dogs in high-stress environments. Mitchell understood that approach angle, movement rhythm, and breath control could significantly influence an animal's stress response, even one in extreme distress. When I move toward the cheetah, I'll be using a specific pattern. Mitchell instructed the veterinarian, who had followed a safe distance with antihistamine injections. It looks random but creates minimal vibration signatures. The bees detect movement through vibration patterns, not visual identification. Mitchell demonstrated the specialized approach technique, a measured, non-rhythmic pattern of advancement that minimized soil vibration and air disturbance. This technique, developed for approaching sensitive explosives in insect-dense environments, had been refined through decades of military field testing. His breathing technique, slow inhalation through the nose, minimal exhalation to mouth, would reduce the carbon dioxide signature that triggered aggressive bee behavior. These specialized respiratory control methods have been standard training for biological threat environments since the Gulf War era. As final preparations concluded, Mitchell connected his modified blower apparatus to the vehicle battery, creating precise electrical current for temperature regulation, another adaptation from military field equipment. Temperature control would be crucial for managing both the swarm behavior and the cheetah's mounting fever from envenomation. The goal isn't to kill the bees, Mitchell explained, adjusting the flow regulator. In tactical extraction, collateral environmental damage creates downstream complications. Will neutralize their ability to sting while disrupting their communication pheromones. The staff watched in amazement as Mitchell methodically prepared each element of his rescue approach with military precision. His hands moved with the practiced efficiency of someone who had performed similar procedures under far more dangerous circumstances. When working with distressed animals in combat zones, we established trust through predictable energy patterns, Mitchell continued, displaying a depth of knowledge that transcended ordinary wildlife management. The cheetah's sensory systems are overwhelmed by pain and fear. I'll need to project calm authority through body positioning and energy control. Testing his modified equipment one final time, Mitchell demonstrated how the soap spray system would create a protective barrier between the bee's stingers and the cheetah's skin while simultaneously incapacitating the insects without harmful chemicals. The design cleverly incorporated elements of military-grade insect repellent systems, while using only non-toxic components available at the reserve. In Fallujah, we extracted sensitive equipment from buildings infested with defensive insects using similar principles, Mitchell noted, making final adjustments to a protective covering. The techniques work on any species with exoskeletal respiratory systems. With his improvised protection secured and rescue equipment ready, Mitchell took a moment to center himself with the calm focus that had carried him through dozens of high-risk operations. The familiar pre-mission clarity sharpened his senses as he prepared to approach the suffering cheetah. "Remember," he told the standby team, "no sudden movements or loud noises once I begin. Communication only through hand signals. We operate as if in hostile territory." Mitchell advanced toward the black cloud of bees with the measured precision of a combat veteran entering hostile territory. Each step followed the specialized pattern he developed. 3 steps forward, pause, quarter turn, 2 steps, pause, disrupting the vibrational patterns that triggered defensive responses in the swarm. The reserve staff watched in stunned silence as thousands of agitated bees seemed to temporarily lose track of this strange, methodical intruder. At 15 feet from the cheetah, Mitchell initiated Phase 2. With controlled movements, he activated the modified leaf blower, releasing a fine mist of soapy solution that expanded outward in a calculated pattern. The effect was immediate. Bees caught in the spray began dropping from the air, their wings immobilized by the surfactant that disrupted their ability to maintain flight. The soap solution breaks down their protective coating. Mitchell had explained earlier, similar to how we neutralize biological threats in the field, disrupt the organism's protective systems without toxic residues. As the outer layer of the swarm thinned, Mitchell caught his first clear glimpse of Cheetah. The magnificent predator lay nearly motionless, its spotted coat barely visible beneath thousands of stinging insects. Only the shallow rise and fall of its rib cage confirmed it was still alive. Mitchell recognized the critical signs of severe envenomation: the swollen face, labored breathing, and weakening pulse visible in the neck artery. The most dangerous phase began as Mitchell closed to within 6 feet, entering the swarm's core defense radius. Despite his protective covering, dozens of bees found exposed skin around his wrists and neck, delivering painful stings that Mitchell acknowledged only through slightly narrowed eyes. His focused breathing never faltered as he continued the specialized approach, now moving the soap spray in precise patterns that created safe corridors through the densest sections of the swarm. When multiple bees penetrated his defenses, targeting his face with potentially fatal stings, Mitchell displayed the pain management techniques that had been essential in his military career. Instead of swatting or rapid movement, which would trigger mass attack, he maintained the disciplined rhythm that had carried him through far worse pain in combat situations. The critical moment arrived as Mitchell reached the cheetah and knelt beside the suffering animal. In normal circumstances, proximity to a wounded predator presented deadly risks, but Mitchell recognized that the cheetah had entered a state of toxic shock, temporarily suppressing its defensive instincts. With methodical movements, he began applying the soap solution directly to the densest clusters of bees on the animal's body, carefully avoiding sensitive areas around the eyes and mouth. As thousands of bees fell away, revealing raw, swollen flesh beneath, Mitchell established essential connection with the cheetah through specialized handling techniques developed for injured military working dogs. His hands moved with confident authority along the animal's flanks, applying firm but gentle pressure that communicated security rather than threat. When the cheetah's eyes fluttered open, golden irises clouded with pain but focusing momentarily on Mitchell's face. The veteran maintained a steady eye contact that established critical trust between species. "I've got you, warrior," Mitchell murmured, the calm authority in his voice seeming to penetrate the animal's pain-fogged consciousness. The breakthrough came when Mitchell applied the baking soda paste to the most severely affected areas, neutralizing the acidic venom. The cheetah's breathing stabilized, and its eyes tracked Mitchell's movements with growing awareness. As the veterinarian approached with antihistamine injections, Mitchell positioned himself as a buffer between the newcomer and the injured predator, maintaining the trust bridge he'd established through his specialized handling techniques. "Easy now," Mitchell instructed, guiding the veterinarian's approach using the same measured movement pattern. Match my breathing rhythm and avoid direct eye contact until I signal. The cheetah accepted the life-saving injection without resistance, a remarkable response that the reserve staff would later describe as nothing short of miraculous. As dawn broke over Savannah, the following morning, Mitchell sat quietly outside the reserve's medical facility, watching the cheetah through the observation window. The transformation was remarkable. Though still weak and covered with hundreds of sting marks, the animal had survived the critical first 12 hours. Its swelling had reduced significantly following Mitchell's specialized treatment protocol, a modified version of military field procedures for mass envenomation. The veterinarian says he's never seen anything like it, Kasane remarked, handing Mitchell a cup of coffee. By all rights, that cat should be dead. Over 1,000 stings, at least. Mitchell nodded, his eyes never leaving the recovering predator. Military working dogs can survive similar attacks with proper technique. The body prioritizes essential systems when you manage the venom distribution correctly. The connection between Mitchell and the cheetah had continued to develop during recovery. When other staff approached the treatment enclosure, the big cat would grow tense and defensive. Yet when Mitchell entered to assist with treatment, the cheetah's demeanor shifted noticeably, muscles relaxing, eyes softening with what the staff described as recognition. In combat zones, you develop bonds through survival situations. Mitchell explained when asked about the phenomenon. Doesn't matter what species. The brain recognizes who was there during the worst moments. As his volunteer assignment at the reserve concluded, Mitchell established a recovery monitoring program for Cheetah, now named Survivor, by the staff. The protocols he developed drew directly from military rehabilitation techniques for trauma recovery, adapted for the specific needs of the big cat. Every life has value. Mitchell reflected during his final visit with Survivor. In the Marines, we never leave anyone behind. Same principle applies here. 3 months later, when Survivor was released back into protected Savannah, Mitchell was present to witness the moment. As the healthy cheetah paused at the enclosure exit, it turned back briefly, golden eyes meeting Mitchell's in a moment of connection that transcended species boundaries. "What do you think he's thinking?" a young staff member whispered. Mitchell smiled slightly. Same thing any warrior thinks after surviving impossible odds. That life is precious, and every day forward is a gift. Have you ever witnessed an incredible animal rescue that changed how you view wildlife conservation? Share your experiences in the comments below.